Hi, Alexi from CodePrinciples.com here, and in today's lesson we're going to talk about how Android data binding works. We will go a bit under the hood of the library, and this is important to know before jumping into learning the main concepts of this library. So let's begin. So Android data binding library works using annotation processing. And what is annotation processing? Annotation processor runs in a step during the compilation process, and it gets extra information from the annotated objects in your code, like classes, functions, parameters, and other things. So you can think of annotations as a way of labeling data in your code, and a way to extend existing functionality, adding more extra features with help of certain libraries that process annotations. So the steps are, first, there are Java files that you wrote, then there is the parsing step in the compilation, and then the annotation processor parses the annotations, generating code. If there's new code that's been generated, then we have to do the parsing again. This is because generated code might have annotations in it. And if there's no more generated code, then that's it. The process is done. Another way that the Android data binding library does its magic is by processing the layout data. As you will see in the following lessons, we have some new attributes and new tags for our XML layouts. So again, we have extra information that is added to the layouts via new tags and slightly new syntax. And again, there is a processing step that grabs XML files, parses them, then extracts certain information, and if some new resources have been generated, then we do this cycle again. If not, we continue. And we're done. The compilation is done. So, as you know, in Java and Android development, you have your resource file that you grab your string IDs from, your layout IDs, and drawables, etc. It starts by you typing r dot whatever the ID is. But with Android data binding, you have binding resource file starting with br. It also has constants such as variable IDs that you'll learn about in the following lessons. So for debugging Android data binding library, it's important to know where you can find the generated code and generated layouts. The generated code resides in your modules build folder, then you go into intermediates, classes, then your build type, then package name, and then data binding. And for the layouts, it's almost the same, but modules build folder, then intermediates, then data binding layout out, debug, or prod, and then the layout folder. So in Android Studio, this is an example of existing project, and you can see that here this is the hierarchy we just talked about. So you can find our binding classes if you go into your apps module, build, intermediates, classes, debug, then our package code principles, advanced Dr. example, data binding, and there you have it. Then here's our binding resource file where you can find your variables, constants and other things. It's again in the same place. Then you have your generated layouts. These are important to know, because if there's any issues when you're working with Android data binding, you can always find what's wrong in those places. So to get started with the project, you have to make sure you're using Android Studio 1.3 and up, and Android Creator plugin 1.5 or higher. And to enable data binding is really easy. You just have to go into your build.gradle in your application module or the module you're using data binding in, and then you just add data binding enabled equals true, as you can see here. And that is all for the introduction on how data binding works under the hood.